Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to finish ranking my palettes of 2021. So in this video you are about to see my top 15 palettes of 2021 ranked, and I cannot wait to show you. These palettes I have in front of me are so freaking special. I absolutely love every single one of them. You will not hear me say anything negative about them because I do love them all. I am ranking them on level of excitement. It just depends on like the shimmers and the mattes and the formulation, etc. Like these are all fantastic palettes, but you know, some of them make me a little bit more giddy than others. I tried a total of 59 palettes this year that came out this year. In yesterday's video I ranked all the way from 59 to number 16. So if you want to see that rankings video, I do recommend that you go watch that one first. And so we are going to pick up exactly where we left off, and that is at number 15. And my 15th most favorite palette of 2021 is this beautiful palette right here. This was actually one of the last palettes that I got. This is from Eyeliner Cosmetics, the Disney Encanto eyeshadow palette. And I mean, just look at the beautiful shades that come in here. I am obsessed with these stunning shimmers and the wonderful mattes that this palette has to go with them. Just look at the vibrancy and the quality and just how beautiful those shimmer colors look right there. And then it came with some really spectacular creamy mattes that complement those colors so nicely. I think Gabby from Eyeliner Cosmetics did a fantastic job with this palette and this collaboration. One of my favorite palettes this year for sure. And this palette is actually made in Italy, so you know that the quality is fantastic. To die for, highly recommended. Colorful but not too colorful. You can totally make it very wearable. I love it. It's so nice. At number 14, the last palette and my most favorite palette from the Wild collection from Huda Beauty. This is the Wild Jaguar Obsessions palette from Huda. This was a very different palette for her, which made me excited because she had never done quite a grungy, cool toned palette like this one. And the formula on this palette is absolutely great on 8 out of the 9 shadows. I do not like the way that this purple at the bottom performs, but every single other shade is fantastic. Just take a look right here at the beautiful shimmer shades that this palette has. And some of them are grungy still, but just they have this beautiful shine to them that to me makes them very special. And then it also has some spectacular mattes that go so well with those shimmers. Very buttery, extremely blendable, easy to build, just pigmented, beautiful. Just wonderful formulas that come in this palette, and I do love the color story. I have a 3 looks, 1 palette with that Huda Jaguar palette in case you're looking for inspiration on it. At number 13, I have this colorful little thing right here. This palette is colorful, but at the same time I really appreciate the inclusion of the brown mattes. I feel like it makes the colors a lot less intimidating, and it makes creating looks with this palette a little bit more everyday wearable. However, this palette has some of the most stunning colorful shimmers ever. Did I say the name yet? This is the Viseart Bijouette palette. The jewel tone color shimmers that this palette has are to die for. Extremely pigmented, high performing shades that just look so wonderful on the eyes, and they are very easy to combine as well. And then, as I was saying, it also has some stunning mattes that go so well with those shades. I also have a 3 looks 1 palette with this one in case anybody is interested. At number 12, and I would say this is definitely one of the most exciting palettes I tried this year. Like, it could be higher. The reason it isn't higher is that it doesn't have a lot of mattes, and I do like more mattes in my palettes. But let me just explain. Number 12 is the beautiful Danessa Myricks palette right here. Those shimmer shades are to die for. She's got like 6 or 8 multi-chrome shades in this palette that are just so freaking gorgeous, and they look so beautiful on the eyes. She also has the highlighters in the center there that can also be used on the eyes, and they're like beautiful pearly iridescent shimmers. And she does have the color Black Hole right here at the end that makes me not necessarily need to reach for another palette in order to use this one, which I'm glad that color is there because otherwise it would have ranked even lower. Now the reason it's not higher, even though it has some of the most beautiful shimmers that I tried this year, is because I can only use those shimmers with that specific shade. When I judge my palettes, I kind of try to like also think about like, you know, do I need to reach for anything else in order to use it, or is it a palette that I can use on its own kind of a thing? And so this palette I can use on its own, but I do also think that I would love it even more if it had more matte shades in it. However, I am absolutely not mad at all having to reach for this one for pops of color because it has the most gorgeous, I mean, are you looking at this? The most gorgeous pops of color that I can find in my collection, period. So definitely very excited that I got it. It was pricey, but in my opinion, it was totally worth it. I just, I have a newfound love for multi-chrome shades and for Danessa Myricks in general. This palette was absolutely fantastic and it is my 12th favorite. At number 11, I have a Natasha Denona palette. Now, I did not forget about the Zendo palette right here, and this was actually my favorite release from Natasha Denona this year. I feel like not a lot of people love this palette as much as I love this palette. I found that when combining the peachy warm shades with the more cool tone green shades of this palette, I was able to create some absolutely stunning, very unique looks that I hadn't thought of before, and therefore this palette is exciting and special to me. Plus it has Natasha Denona's absolutely stunning formula. I do wish that it had more exciting shimmers in it, more glitz per se, but you know, it has a nice varied color story that made me step out of my comfort zone, and therefore it is a pretty exciting palette to me. I do really like it. I highly recommend it, and if you need inspiration using this palette, because I feel like a lot of people again don't love it as much as I do, definitely check out the 5 Looks 1 palette that I created with this one, and you can get some tips on how to combine your shades and create some absolutely stunning looks with the Zendo palette. Okay, we have officially gotten to the top 10 palettes of 2021, and at number 10, this big ol' thing, the Nervina Volume 5 palette. This is a purpley lover's dream, a burgundy lover's dream. Absolutely love this palette. The formulas are incredible, the shimmers are incredible, it has really nice transition shades, beautiful purples, beautiful shimmers, stunning burgundies. You are kind of just going to get that. Like, there isn't a lot of variety per se. I did do a 5 Looks 1 palette. With this one I tried to have as much diversity as possible within that 5 Looks 1 palette video, but it is basically a purpley burgundy palette, so there would, you know, there's just so much you can do with that. However, I love the formula. I feel like she redeemed herself with this one because the past Nervina palettes I wasn't the biggest fan of, and this right here I think was absolutely worth it. Love the color story. I'm never gonna go through a palette like this one, though it's so ridiculously huge, but I like it. I like it a lot. The packaging is nice and sturdy as well, and just the formulations are beautiful, and the looks that I can come up with that palette are beautiful. So that is palette number 10. And at palette number 9, I'm not going to talk too much about this one because I don't want to make you want to buy it, because you can't, unfortunately. This palette has officially been discontinued. It sold out when it launched and it never came back in stock, which was a huge shame. They could have sold a lot more of these, I think. Anyways, palette number 9 for 2021, in my opinion, is this beautiful Kaleidos palette. This was a collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, and this palette is freaking stunning, okay? Let me show you some swatches of these beautiful shimmer shades that this palette has. I mean, just take a look at that. Kaleidos makes some of the best shimmers, but you know what they also do really good? They make some absolutely stunning mattes as well. The most inspiring mattes to me in this palette was like this section here. These dark, grungy, but at the same time colorful colors really inspired me and made me step out of my comfort zone. I love to put these colors on the outer corner of eye looks, and they look absolutely stunning. Everything about this palette is so well thought out. Angelica Nyqvist did a fantastic job at curating this color story, and it is my 9th most favorite palette that came out in 2021. At number 8, I actually have another collaboration palette, and that is this stunning thing right here. This is the Giant Wolves palette from Odin's Eye and Annette, and this palette has some of the most stunning shimmer shades ever. Before I show you those, I'm going to show you the mattes that I love from this one, because very similarly to the Angelica Nyqvist palette, it has those grungy colorful mattes that I fell in love with this year. These mattes are incredible. They blend to perfection. They combine so well with the shimmers that come in this palette as well. And like I said, the shimmers in this palette are to die for. They are comparable to Pat McGrath shimmers in my opinion. Not like the special shades from Pat McGrath, but her regular shimmers, very comparable to these. This palette has a triochrome shade down here that is absolutely spectacular. You see the pink, the blue, the purple, so pretty. And then these are the other shades that I absolutely love from this one. This is a really nice and intense grungy palette. The only thing it's missing for me would be like a couple of transition colors. However, I like the shades in this palette so much that with the huge competition that it had this year, it still made it to the number 8th spot for me, which, I mean, just, it's an incredible palette. I love it. I don't know if they sold out of that collection during their Black Friday sale because they had it 40% off, but I very highly recommend that Odin's Eye collection. We are going back to the basics with number 7, and we are going to talk about the Patrick Ta palette that came out towards the beginning of the year. I know that there's nothing like overly specially color story wise about this palette, but I think it is beautifully curated. And it is just kind of like that basic staple neutral to warm tone palette everybody needs in their collection. So I absolutely love it, and it made it super far along in my rankings because it is actually one of the palettes that I have reached for the most this year, and I definitely find value and excitement in a palette that I reach for a lot. So this palette is on the basic side, but it is absolutely beautiful. I love the matte shades in this one. Very useful, very creamy matte, extremely pigmented, very blendable. It also has this exciting little corner right here where he put a couple of cream shades that combine so well with the rest of the palette. And then, you know how I was saying, like especially with the Natasha Denona palettes, I talked about how like I was missing the glitz from those. Well, even though this palette only has a few shimmers that are very basic, they are very glitzy, and so I really love that about this one. Take a look right there. See, these are like attention grabbing glitzy shades, and I absolutely love them. So this right here is palette number 7. My 6th most favorite palette that came out this year is this beauty right here. I feel like this has a really good combination of like basic but also a little bit colorful, and Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows are, in my opinion, the easiest to use. If you're a beginner, you want to try Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows for sure, because you don't have to spend more than a minute blending. They blend themselves. It's like you're done, you know. So I absolutely love the color story of this Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. It's got greens, it's got warm tones, it's got cool tones, and it's got super basic light shades in it. And you can use the color stories on their own as individual looks the way that Charlotte suggests, or you can just go all around the palette and combine the shades. I did a 3 looks 1 palette with this one, and I absolutely love every single one of the looks that I came up with. This is just another palette that like I immediately want to go and grab when I want to do a look, because it's easy, thoughtless, and I know that I'm going to have a look that I love, and it's super classy, very elegant, very wearable. It goes with everything. You can kind of just use this type of color story for like every occasion. I love the shimmers that come in this palette, are absolutely stunning. Let's do another round of those. These are the last 3 right here. Very nice, vibrant shades that just look delicious on the eyelids, and then it has some really beautiful, you know, staple matte shades to combine with those shimmers. So this palette I think is wonderfully curated, and I love the formula of Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows just because of its ease of use. So highly recommended, and that is my number 6 palette this year. And we are on to the top 5. By the way, I noticed when I was ranking them how close my 5th and my 6th palette were to each other as far as the color story was concerned, and so it totally made sense to me that they had to be back to back. So this right here is my 5th most favorite palette this year. This is from Odin's Eye. This is the palette that Judy curated with Odin's Eye, and certainly one of my favorite palettes this year. Look at how much these color stories are like one another. I think what tipped it over for me and what made me like this one a little bit more is that it has a little bit more daring mattes in there, and the shimmers are not just shimmers, there's some duochromes in the shimmers as well, which kind of just gave it a few extra points. So let's talk about my favorite mattes that come in this palette first. These right here, super creamy, very blendable, easy to use. I love that they included this nice matte green shade for a little bit of variety in here. Plus these two colors right here are super intense, strong matte shades that you can very easily darken up your eye look with. What is not to love? Plus I am obsessed with the shimmers in this one. I feel like the camera doesn't do them the best justice, but this shade right here, for example, it is a beautiful duochrome. Like I'm looking at it on the camera and you are seeing like a burgundy type of a shimmer shade, but when I look at it in person, I see mostly green. And I'm honestly not sure how I could show you that on camera. No, the green is really not showing. Boo. I guess you'll have to take my word for it. This palette is delicious, and it is my 5th most favorite palette this year, which is just fantastic. I just have a lot of love for this one. Love the color story, love the way that they designed it. They gave me all of the transition shades that I needed. They gave me sparkly shades that are actually sparkly and glitzy and duochromy, and they gave me really beautiful matte shades to intensify my eye look with. Nothing more that I could ask for, really. So let's talk about my 4th most favorite palette that came out in 2021, and that is this beautiful thing right here from Huda Beauty. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. It has such a romantic color story with such beautiful matte shades in it, but really I think what I love most about this one is the formula of the shimmer shades. The shimmer shades in this palette are like breathtakingly attention grabbing, if that makes sense. Like they are so bright and shimmery and pigmented, it's incredible. Just take a look. I mean, you can obviously see it on camera. Just take a look right here at how much these shimmer shades shine. It's like they're a shimmer base, but with like a glittery topper on top of it, just like perfectly mixed. Just incredible, really. I did a 5 looks 1 palette with this one if you guys are interested, and it is quite the exciting palette for me. Plus I love that it has a really nice and like romantic color story. Like this could be very light and girly, or it could be quite intense with the dark shimmer shades at the top right there. There's a lot of variety within this color story, and the shimmers are definitely what made this palette special for me, because the mattes are incredible. They blend like a dream, but they're not like anything overly spectacular. However, the shimmery, glittery, glitzy shades that this palette has are incredible, and I love Huda's 18 pan palettes. Just are some of my favorite for sure. Top 3 palettes of 2021, and they are all the same brand because the obsession is real. Of course, I'm talking about Pat McGrath, and at number 3 we have this one right here. This is the Celestial Odyssey palette from Mother Pat. This one came out for holiday this year. It is an 18 pan palette from Pat McGrath. It's got 3 matte shades, the rest of them are shimmer, and the reason this one made it so far along, and it is one of my favorite palettes that came out this year for sure, is that she gave us a really good variety in the shimmers that came out in this palette. Like you can create so many different looks with this one. You want a blue look, you have it. A dark smoky look, you have it. A golden look, you have it. Rose gold, no problem. Would you like pink instead? No problem. How about a bronzy color? Absolutely. It also has this stunning pewtery silver shade, and it even comes with green. So it has a huge variety of shades within a beautiful color story. It has four matte shades that go so well with those shimmers. The 5 looks 1 palette I created with this palette was probably the easiest one to come up with looks for, because literally I didn't have to think about it much. Like, every shade in this palette is so vastly different. There is a huge variety of shades that come in here, which I really appreciate. Plus it's got Pat McGrath's amazing formula, so what is not to love about this amazing huge palette right here? If it's still on sale 40% off, you better run to the website and grab it, because this is definitely one of the best palette launches this year, and I could not recommend it enough. My second most favorite palette this year is actually a quad from Pat McGrath, and it is this stunning thing right here. I feel like in every favorites rankings video this palette comes up, and it's because I'm just obsessed with it. This is my second most favorite palette of the year. This is the Pat McGrath Voyeuristic Vixen quad. I am so obsessed with this palette still. I want to reach for it all the time. It excites me to play with it, which is weird because it's only 4 colors, right? But these 4 colors are just that amazing. Let's go ahead and swatch them right here. So just take a look at this beautiful color story. Each color is very different from one another. This duochrome shade right here looks so incredible in person because it has the craziest shift to it. It is a duochrome gold with like a rose gold tone. Like I always said, you can see it in the mirror right there. See how one looks pink and the other one looks gold in the mirror? Incredible shift. It has this stunning bronzy color as well. Then this shimmer shade that is spectacular for like inner corner or highlighting in general. And a stunning matte burgundy color that goes so well with every single shade in this palette. Plus, I feel like the quality of the shadows in this little quad is like superior. It's incredible. The quality of that burgundy matte specifically is to die for, okay? Just wonderful. It's like a 20 out of 10 for me. Absolutely love this one, and it is my second most favorite palette for 2021. And now the moment everybody's been waiting for, my most favorite palette of 2021, and that is actually this REM Beauty palette right here. I cannot take myself seriously. Obviously not. I am joking. This is not my favorite. I did, however, very recently realize that I forgot to rank this one in the video. That is how out of my mind this one was already. This is from Ariana Grande's line. I tried it recently. It's okay. If I had to rank it, I would put it as my number 59 palette, and this makes me have 60 palettes total, so the Mary Jane palette from Melt would be the only one behind this one. But I totally forgot to include it in the ranking, so I apologize. Not my favorite though. My most favorite palette this year is actually this beautiful thing right here. This is the Utopian palette from Pat McGrath, Mothership number 9 right here. This palette is dreamy to say the least. It's got some stunning mattes, some beautiful shimmers. The Astro Blitz shades in this palette are the most impactful that Pat McGrath has come out with. So that just says a lot right there. Let's go ahead and give you some swatches. Look at these stunning matte shades that this palette has. It also has a beautiful highlighting color right there. It has these 2 beautiful shimmers right here in the center that are not her Astro Blitz shades, but that are stunning. Not just shimmery, like this one has like a glittery toppery thingy in there that makes it a little bit extra special. But of course, what makes this palette truly spectacular, truly stand out from the rest, and my number 1 pick for 2021 is the Astro Blitz shade, particularly these 2 right here at the end. I have never seen a more reflective eyeshadow ever. Like, just look at how much those shine. It is absolutely incredible. It has a multi-chrome shade in it as well. I created a 5-Lux-1 palette video with this palette in case you guys are interested, and it is one of my favorite 5-Lux-1 palette videos I have made. And so the Utopian Dream palette by Pat McGrath is my #1 favorite palette for 2021. Woohoo! Okay, I have officially filmed 3 videos today. I filmed the whole rankings of every single one of my palettes I tried this year, and I also did a live earlier. I love you guys so much. I truly hope that you like this video. I complain about it, but I love making rankings videos because I love just thinking of ways in which I can differentiate my eyeshadow palettes and whatnot. Plus, I feel like they're just entertaining to see what other people's favorite palettes are and why. I watch other people's rankings videos all the time as well, and it is some of my favorite content to watch. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you leave. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, my name is Patty. I would love it if you join me, so please don't leave without subscribing. I am palette obsessed, as you can see, and maybe I should have disclosed this at the beginning of yesterday's video, but you know, nobody needs this many eyeshadow palettes. Everybody knows that. I buy them so that I can review them for you. Remember that this is my job, and whatever I realize that I no longer use, I always pass along to somebody else. Anyways, like I said before, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you back in tomorrow's video. Bye!